Okay, here's part 2 of my video series on connecting R to MySQL database running on Google's cloud platform. And in this video here, we're going to be looking at this step 2. So referring to my step-by-step guide that I provided earlier, we're going to be looking at this step number 2, create a Google Cloud Platform project. And this is pretty simple, but I want to demonstrate what it looks like, and I'm going to do this kind of from the ground up. So I'm just going to go to a new browser tab, Google Cloud Console. I'm going to go to the Google Cloud Platform, and I have a project that I shut down recently, so that's fine. And once I'm in the cloud platform, the dashboard looks just like this. Okay, and in order to create a new project, right, it's pretty simple. I'm going to go to the drop down up here where I select a project, go in here to new project, and I'm going to create a project called PPPEIDL, and this is the project in which I'm going to spawn a database in the MySQL database instance, and create the database, which I'm going to use to store the data that I have on these Paycheck Protection Program and Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program data. So go ahead and create that project. Get out of there. Okay, and so now I have an active project here that I can start adding cloud-based resources to.
Okay, before moving on to the next step, I wanted to just share a little bit of my experience with you guys, just because, I guess. I want to talk briefly about these Google Cloud Platform projects. And one of the reasons is because I have a couple of MySQL databases, Cloud MySQL databases running on Amazon's web service. And when I went to go set up this database, I really wanted to try to set it up using Google's Cloud Platform so that I could kind of compare the two experiences. And one of the things that's different between AWS and Google's Cloud Platform, kind of right off the bat, is this project as the overarching unit of organization. My experience in AWS was a little bit more a la carte, right? I wanted to set up a Cloud SQL database, and so I went to my AWS dashboard and I clicked the button for RDS, Relational Database Service, and then I just started setting up the database. Set up the database instance, give it a name, all that fun stuff. I wasn't really required to have any kind of overarching unit of organization for that. And then later on, I ended up provisioning a virtual machine using Amazon's EC2 service. So in my dashboard, again, there was another button for EC2, Elastic Compute. And you click on that button, and you can set up a machine image. And then, even later on, I set up a virtual private cloud for the two things to kind of live inside of, and I ended up connecting the virtual machine to the database and kind of setting up a more secure version of the database that was kind of partitioned off from the public internet. And so I stacked these three cloud-based services together to kind of create an implicit project, but I wasn't really required to name that or anything. Google's experience just demands that you make things a little bit more explicit and create a project before you start provisioning these cloud-based resources. So, the project, the platform, rather, has all of these things that you can use: database engines, virtual machines, machine learning and AI libraries. There's something called an app engine. If you want to learn about all of the kind of services that Google offers you on its cloud platform, there's this Getting Started with Google Cloud Platform Quick Start, and it's got plenty of examples, documentation, and even some tutorials on all these things. Okay, and so the project is a way that you stack these things together to do cool stuff. And my really lame example was something like a dating application. If you were building out a dating app, you'd probably start with a database in order to store information about your users, but then you might have some computing power that was connecting to that database and doing some operations like using some machine learning or AI algorithms to power a recommender engine that might recommend profiles to your users. So you would have these different cloud functionalities, and they would be wrapped together in a project, and that project would be your dating app. So just sharing my experience with these projects. Maybe that's helpful for you guys. Maybe it was really obvious and a total waste of time. And if that's the case, I apologize.